Just a few questions on Secretary Ubial. I get the impression that at a certain point you were opposed to this continued program involving this dengue vaccination, but you were pressured in Congress and you relented after you consulted a second panel of experts. Is that a correct recollection?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who were the second panel of experts?
Your Honor, I gave the list to the staff of Senator Bam Aquino. I'm sorry, I don't remember all of them.
Okay.
But I can give the list also and the resolution to
Maybe
your
you just
office.
give it to the secretary, Secretary
Yes,
Ubial.
sir.
And after you consulted the second panel, you continued the program and purchased and increased the coverage geographically to Region 7. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
Because there was approximately 2.4 billion worth of vaccines that is already in the warehouse and about to be delivered that we cannot use if we do not continue the program. And that was the dilemma on my shoulders.
Are you saying that you approved this and expanded it simply because there were vaccines in stock and not because it is a program worth implementing?
Your Honor, at that point in time, it was licensed by the Food and Drug Administration. It was approved to be implemented by the the position paper of the World Health Organization came out July 2016, so that was out. And then an expert panel was convened and they recommended that it be expanded to the region with the similar situation as 3, 4A, and NCR, and with the conditions that were in the position paper of WHO, Your Honor.
So you were convinced independently that regardless of whether or not there was enough stock, this program is worth continuing because of these circumstances that you mentioned?
Actually, Your Honor, what they call as an increased risk for patients with no exposure to dengue, at that point in time, Your Honor, is considered a theoretical risk. So it would be very difficult on my part when later on, after all these studies have been done, and they tell you the theoretical risk is not anymore a risk. We found out that it is no longer happening. So how can I face the people where I wasted 2.5 billion vaccines and there's no risk at all? I cannot tell the future. I cannot tell that Sanofi will come out on November 29, 2017 and tell us that the risk is real. It's not a theory anymore.
So it was a judgment call that you made?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your judgment was based on your appreciation of all the circumstances at that time?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the same can be said when the President when President Aquino accepted these recommendations. He did so in good faith because he was relying on expert advice of his subordinates.
But Your Honor, at the time, there was no pressure. The vaccines were not yet procured.
Yes, but what I'm just saying is, the President, not being a physician and has precisely his advisors in various fields and in health, physicians, you have the right to rely, as you did, best judgment that you can make on the basis of what you have. It was best that he relied on expert opinion.
Your Honor, at that time, there were already recommendations to the President, and I have copies of the email of the Pharmaceutical Division and the Health Policy, that the DOH is coordinating with the World Health Organization. This is from the email that was sent to the Health Policy Bureau before the meeting of the President in Paris in December. It's dated November 25, 2015. The World Health Organization, the DOH is coordinating with the World Health Organization to get hold of interim recommendations of the Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, which is looking judiciously at the clinical data available on the dengue vaccine. The WHO recommendations are expected to come out on the first quarter of 2016. And it is recommended that DOH seriously considers these recommendations before making a commitment to finance the dengue vaccine, whose effects and safety profile are not yet fully known, as the vaccine has not had wide-scale implementation on a large population in any country of the world. And so, Your Honor, my situation and Secretary Garin's situation is different, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask for the response or comment of Secretary Garin? The response of Secretary Garin to the statement of Secretary Ubial.
Your Honor, I'm actually, maybe Secretary Ubial can cite her source, because I did not receive any such document from the program directors.
Maybe I should clarify that, because that opinion came from our office, so that was a request.
Your office being?
I am from the Pharmaceutical Division, so we act as the secretariat for the Formulary Committee. At the time, there was a request for vetting. This is a normal process in the Department of Health. If there are official visits of our diplomats abroad and there are technical issues, then they consult us. So we were consulted on this particular visit of the President, and there was mention of like introduction of the vaccine. And we were in communication then with our colleagues from the WHO, and we were constantly asking them when will the guidance be out. And we were advised that it will be out come March or April. So our advice was to wait for it so that we will be properly guided, because at the Formulary Committee we had very limited data. We only have the dossier submitted by the companies, but we were aware that the WHO is in possession of more data and they were doing more rigorous analysis. So that was the advice that we gave.
Your Honor,
to the
if
Health
I
Policy
may we
Bureau.
request who in WHO was NCPAM coordinating? NCPAM is the Office of Director Guerrero.
It was Miss Clara Tisoki from the WPR Essential Medicines and Technology.
What's your name again?
Dr. Clara Tisoki of the WIPRO.
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor. That would be good if she will also be invited to shed light on that, because that was precisely my contention to Senator Gordon. That in line with because this is an investigation in aid of legislation, my experience in the Department of Health is there were several situations wherein a conflict can arise between the FEC and the program directors. The confusion on who decides. Because the FEC, by virtue of the admin order issued by DOH, is mandated to consult the program directors and specialty societies. Yung decision makers naman at yung naghahanap ng pondo, nalilito kami kung sino bang paniniwalaan, because based on our understanding, the decision to implement program comes from program directors and bureau directors, not from FEC. So if that can also be looked into.
Sir, may we reply to that? The formulary.
Yes, in
Senator.
formulary, please.
Sir, we would just like to say that, in fact, what Secretary Green has said, that the formulary has not been cooperative or even adversarial, is really not true. And I think
Your
it's
Honor,
unfair
I'm
to
sorry,
us, because we have been able to call several experts, individual experts in their field, subspecialty, specialty, sir, and the people in the OH, the different bureaus will attest to the fact that they have been invited, and we have been able to very politely engage them in many discussions before we do make our recommendations, sir, to the Secretary of Health.
Your
And
Honor,
that will be shown by
for
our
the
minutes.
record,
We also are very transparent in all the processes.
Your Honor, for the record, I never said that FEC was uncooperative. What I'm saying is that my experience, even in the implementation of the inactivated polio vaccine, as relayed to me, was that there are communication gaps between FEC and the program directors and NCPAM in the department. With that, Your Honor, let me state by saying the Integrity Management Committee report done during the time of Secretary Ubial reflects this position. May I request that that Integrity Management Committee report be requested officially, including all the attachments as contained thereto, and for Secretary Ubial to comment if that integrity report is tainted or if the composition of the members she placed into that committee are not reliable.
For the record, Senator Subiri is here for the last hour.
Yes, sir. I
Yes,
was
go ahead.
referred to. Can I say something?
Please do.
Yes, the report on the inquiry on the school-based immunization program of the tetravalent dengue vaccine of the Department of Health was actually submitted to both houses of Congress, the lower house and the upper house, and it was furnished the Committee on Good Governance and Committee on Health in the lower house, and the Committee on Blue Ribbon Committee and the Committee on Health